Tonight, another major piece of Trump investigation-related news. A Trump-appointed judge presiding over the prosecution of Donald Trump in the classified documents case, today pushing back against the Trump team's request to postpone that documents trial until after the 2024 election. In court today, Judge Cannon said, quote, "I can appreciate that more time is necessary, but we need to set a schedule." This was the first time Judge Cannon, a Trump appointee, had heard from both sides on the Mar-a-Lago documents case. And while it was initially supposed to focus on how to handle the classified material that would be evidence in the case, Cannon also needed to address the very sensitive issue of the trial schedule. Now, Donald Trump was not there, but his co-defendant, Walt Nauta, was seen outside court. Trump faces 37 federal charges for allegedly obstructing the investigation by refusing to turn over the documents and lying about it, and then knowingly hoarding highly sensitive national security documents. Now, there's been a lot of pressure on Judge Cannon. She was lambasted by many legal experts and overturned by an appellate court for her previous ruling in a lawsuit filed by Trump's attorneys over the documents found long before the indictment itself. Cannon had denied the FBI immediate access to thousands of documents before an appeals court panel, where two of the three judges were also appointed by Trump, overruled Cannon in a very stinging rebuke, saying she didn't have the authority to make that ruling. And because of that, many on the left lost it when she was randomly assigned to preside over the criminal prosecution in the documents case, many calling for her to be recused. But in an op-ed for the New York Times, in defense of Judge Cannon, our guest, Nick Akerman, who has been critical of Trump at times, writes, "While concerns about her judgment and ability to manage the case are understandable, Judge Cannon is not known to have said or written anything that suggests such a bias towards Republicans or blindness towards justice that she would wholly disqualify her from a case involving Mr. Trump. The health and independence of our judiciary depend in part on judges learning from episodes like this, and in her case showing that she will not stray from properly applying the law to Mr. Trump as she would to any other criminal defendant." You may recall I made a similar point on this show when I was debating people who were saying she should be recused. Let's bring back Nick Akerman, again served as a prosecutor in the Watergate Special Prosecution Force, and recently wrote that New York Times op-ed entitled "Don't Automatically Write Off the Judge in the Trump Documents Case." All right, so Nick, today did she prove you right to some degree?
Yeah, of course. I mean, she did not give Donald Trump what he wanted. She said that she was not going to take into account that he was running for president or that there was an election going on, that essentially she was going to follow the law. I mean, this is almost the same kind of issue that was raised with Jack Smith. Because he's in the Department of Justice, because it's under the Biden administration, the right is sort of coming down on him, just like the left is coming down on Judge Cannon. And the fact of the matter is, people in these jobs, people who are well qualified, like both Jack Smith and Judge Cannon, carry out their jobs without fear or favor, without regard to politics. And that's certainly been my experience practicing in the federal courts, both as a prosecutor and a civil litigator for over 50 years.
But it is fair to say, is it not, that Jack Smith and his team were probably not pleased about Judge Cannon being assigned to the case?
I'm not so sure about that, because they had to know, based on the assignment procedures in that district, that she was a pretty likely pick. I mean, maybe 1 out of 2 or 1 out of 3. So when they decided to file this in Florida, they knew full well that they would likely get Judge Cannon. Mm-hmm. And what better judge to get than one that has already been instructed by the 11th Circuit that Donald Trump is not to be treated any differently than any other criminal defendant in the federal system.
All right, so Nick, prediction now, do you expect that this case will actually go to trial, go to a jury before the November 2024 election?
Absolutely. There's no reason why it shouldn't. I mean, the government has already provided all the documents, including statements by witnesses, which I never did, never got as a defense lawyer. They provided Basically everything that's required in discovery up to this point. There's only 31 classified documents that are at issue here. This is not a very complicated case. It's basically about a guy hiding the ball and moving documents out of a storage facility into his residence and keeping the government from getting these documents pursuant to a grand jury subpoena. So this is not a hard case and not very complicated.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your cable provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.